Hello everybody, I'm Stephanie. Today we're going to be taking a flow that is hands-free. A bunch of people have been asking me to do a flow that's hands-free, and I've been putting it off and putting it off. And life has a way of just pushing you to do certain things. And so I have been unable to put pressure on my right wrist for a couple weeks now. So I've been saying, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And of course, here it goes. We're going to do a flow that is hands-free. So this is for any of those times that your wrists are feeling a little talkative, a little tweaky, or maybe this is just your practice. You can still do yoga without putting pressure on the wrists. So join me on your mat wherever you're at, and let's get started. So as we're moving today, we're going to have very little pressure, if any whatsoever, on the hands. So anytime the hands are going to come to touch to the floor, we're not putting pressure there, and we're just staying on the fingertips so that there's no flexion in the wrist if you're having that wrist pain. So beginning with those 3 movements of spine, matching movement with breath. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. Keep that length in your spine, and exhale very gently. Palms come together, no pressure here, and down through heart center. 2 more times. Inhale, arms reach up overhead, lengthen the spine. And exhale, palms come down through heart center. 1 more. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale, palms come down through heart center. Inhale, arms reach back up overhead. This time with your exhale, left palm's going to come down, staying on the fingertips. Right arm reaches up and over. Very gentle press through your right knee, right hip, but being conscious to keep length in both side bodies. So really using the core strength so that you're not dumping down and creating this V, almost this crunch. We want to keep more of a C shape, lengthening both sides. Inhale, arms reach back up overhead. And exhale, this time right palm down, very gentle, no pressure, just touching through the fingers. And exhale, left arm reaches up and over. Tiny, tiny press through the left knee, left hip, just so that you're not rocking onto one side. We want to get that good stretch through the side body. 1 more time, both sides. Inhale, center. Exhale, very gently touch left fingers, right arm up and over. Inhale, center. Exhale, right fingers touch, left palm up and over. Inhale, back through center, and this time left hand's going to come behind you, staying again on those fingertips. Right hand's just very, very gently touching the opposite knee, opposite thigh. Inhale, reach the spine up, and with your exhale, you're allowing the right knee and right hip to shoot forward. So you're not pressing through that side, but allowing that twist. So you're allowing the hips to move with the spine, so that when you're coming into your seated twist, that's happening at the very center of the spine and not the base of the spine. So when we ground the hips and don't allow the knee and the hip to move, so the hips moving with the spine, we're twisting at the low back, and that's not where we want to have it happen. Inhale, arms reach back up overhead. And exhale, right palm comes behind. The left hand crosses opposite knee, opposite thigh, allowing the left knee and left hip to travel just a teeny tiny bit forward. And releasing into the twist, feeling that very center of the spine. 1 more time, both sides. Inhale, center. Exhale, very gently touch and twist. Inhale, center. Exhale, plant and twist. Again, allowing the opposite hip and knee to go forward. Inhale, back through center. And exhale, palms come down through heart center. We're going to find a seated cat-cow here, so we're not on our wrists or our palms. So with your exhale, spine's going to reach back behind you. Arms are going to reach out in front of you, kind of curling in. So we're coming to that same position as our standard cat and cow on our palms. Inhale, heart reaches forward. Shoulders roll back, hands reach back behind you, chin reaches up towards the ceiling. So let's speed that up just a little bit. Exhale, spine reaches back behind you. Inhale, heart reaches forward. Open up, really pinching the shoulder blades. 1 more. Spine reaches back behind you. And then inhale, heart reaches forward. Then coming back to your neutral seated position, very, very gently with as little pressure on the hands as you can. Maybe you can even do it without placing the palms on the ground. You're gonna come to the knees and then bring the toes touching, knees apart, and then keeping the tailbone reaching up towards the ceiling. Palms are gonna reach out in front of you. No pressure here on the palms. And then melting the heart down. You're reaching the tailbone back and up. So we wanna keep this length. So this is gonna take that same shape as our down dog, but we're not putting any pressure on the wrists. If it even doesn't feel comfortable there, you can come down to the forearms and take all of that pressure off of the hands whatsoever. But really reaching the hips back and up. Staying here for a few breaths. And then walking the hands back very gently towards the knees. Knees come back in underneath the hips. Stepping one foot up and then the other. No pressure on the hands, and we're to our standing position. We're gonna find our standard vinyasa flow here, but kind of tweaking it just a little bit. So it's really not the whole thing, because we're not gonna be doing any of our planks, any of our chaturanga, but you're still gonna get some core work. So inhale, I'm gonna go to the back of my mat here. Lengthen, arms reach up overhead, get as tall as you can, and with your exhale, bowing from the hips all the way down. You can swan dive, hands can go through heart center if you want to. Again, no pressure here. And it doesn't really matter where those hands are reaching for, because that's not where we want the pressure. So maybe those hands stay at heart center. Just reaching the crown down. Maybe soften the knees even a little bit. We're gonna hang out here for a moment. Maybe you grab opposite elbows, maybe you don't, you just let the arms hang. You can rock side to side, take out some of the tension in the neck, shake the head yes, shake it no, even move the jaw around. We hold a lot in the jaw here. Inhale, halfway lift. No pressure whatsoever, hair is out of the way. Reaching back through the tailbone, forward through the crown, shoulders rolling back. So a lot of times when we come into halfway lift, people will halfway lift, but the spine is curved. We want to go for length in the spine. So really reaching the tailbone back. It might feel like a back bend to you if you've been doing this curved spine for so long. Couple breaths here. Then soften the knees, exhale, reach back down through the crown. Inhale, come all the way back up, squeezing the glutes slightly, and core is pulling in. Exhale, hands down through heart center. We're gonna do that again. Inhale to lengthen, arms reach up overhead. Exhale to bow from the hips. You can swan dive, hands through heart center. If you feel that depth a little bit too much and the hamstrings are behind the knees, soften the knees. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen, lengthen. Exhale, reach back down through the crown. We're hanging out here again, but this time the fingertips are going to touch either to the mat or maybe they just come to the ankle or to the shin, but there's not any pressure here whatsoever. Bend your right knee, right fingertips are going to touch down. Then inhale, left arm lifts. So standing twisted forward fold. So there should not be any pressure here. I can lift my hand off the ground and nothing's going to change in my body. Exhale, left fingers are going to touch down, mat, ankle, shin, wherever that hand can reach. Left knee bends, right knee straightens. Inhale, right arm lifts. Twisted standing forward fold, other side. And exhale, right palm comes back down. We're going to balance out the hips. Inhale, halfway lift. Find that length through the mess of the hair. Exhale, reach back down through the crown. This time, hands are going to reach back behind you. And maybe you just touch the fingers instead of interlacing them if there's any wrist pain whatsoever. Rolling the shoulders back. And then reaching those fingers up and maybe out in front of you. But very, very gently opening up the heart. Fingers come back down towards your hips. Hands reach back out in front of you. Inhale, halfway lift again. Exhale, reach back down, belly button to spine. Slight engagement in the glutes. Come all the way back up. And exhale down through heart center. So we're finding that slight engagement in the glutes as we're coming back up because we're lifting with the legs and not the low back. Forever I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? That's that engagement of the glutes. Here we go, one more time. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, bowing from the hips all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, reach back down, this time making sure the ankles are underneath the hips. So if you do your standing forward fold and the feet are together, very gently stepping the feet apart. On your next inhale, tailbone's gonna reach back and down. Hands are gonna come to heart center. We're coming into chair pose. So core is pulling in, glutes are squeezing. Again, can you get this long, long length from hip up to crown? And then we're gonna check out the core here. So really pulling it in. With your next exhale, hands are gonna fly back behind you. We're gonna call this chair plane. And noticing what happens in the core when those arms reach back. When the arms reach back, did the belly go bloop and kind of fall down? Really pulling it in. Inhale, hands come back to heart center. Exhale, fly it back. This time we're gonna reach the arms up a little bit. Inhale, arms are gonna reach up. Exhale, fly it back. Keep squeezing those glutes. Core is pulling in. One more. And then exhale, hips reach up, bowing from the hips all the way down, standing forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, reach back down. Lift with the glutes and the core. Inhale, come all the way back up. And exhale, hands down through heart center. So this time we're going to take some motion going into our more traditional shapes of our warrior stances, but we're not taking it from that vinyasa flow. So first, stepping the right foot forward and then the left foot back, staying up on the back left toes, making sure that both hip points are pointed front. So you can come into a warrior one, but if you come into a warrior one, those hips are going to shift over to the left just slightly. So if you're wanting to keep those hips square, then staying up on the back left toes, left heel is lifted. Core is pulling in, arms reach up overhead. Just floating here. So really feeling the inner thighs squeezing in, the core is pulling in, and sending that extra bit of length into the left hip flexor here. Keep breathing here. Inhale, get a little bit taller. Then with your exhale, the left heel is going to come down, left toes turn out, and we go into our warrior two. Noticing what's going on. If the right knee has fallen in, instead of pressing it back, we want to find that twist in the hips until the right knee tracks in line with the toes, and then find that twist again, center of the torso, so we're not twisting low back again. Opening up warrior two. Squeeze those inner thighs together, pull the mat together. Keep that engagement all in the lower body. Keep this length in the upper body. And then very gently bend your right elbow and you're going to take it down to your knee. It's just there for balance, so we're not dumping any energy down. Left arm lifts up, side angle. With your next exhale, left arm reaches overhead, stretch your whole left side body, pressing down all four corners of the left foot. Feeling that length, keep the right knee where it is, keep squeezing the inner thighs together. Inhale, come up, reverse your warrior. Drop your left, reach back with your right. We're gonna take that one more time. Exhale, extended warrior, just barely hovering here. The core is helping lift you up. And reverse your warrior. Back to warrior two. We're gonna spin on the back left toes, come back up, high lunge. And then step the left foot in until the heel comes down. The left toes are turned out just slightly to the upper left-hand corner. And we're gonna find our pyramid here. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, bow from the hips. Heart reaches forward and then down as I begin to bow more. Really feeling this deep, intense stretch along the back side of the right leg. The hands can just touch here on either side of the leg. Or maybe they come to the ankle or even to the fingertips. But again, we don't want any weight on the palms, on the wrists. Once you're as far as you're comfortable, so finding your edge, left hip is tugging forward, right hip is back. So we want both hips in line so that we're not turning those hips to the diagonal. They're both pointing straight. One more breath here. Inhale, come back up. Step the left foot back behind you and left heel comes down again. We're back to our warrior two. Again, make those adjustments. Knees tracking with the toes. Twist is happening center of the torso. And then straighten your right knee. Hands are going to come to the shoulders. We're going into our triangle, but instead of spinning the hands down, we get this idea in our head and our egos that I've got to reach my right hand down for the mat. And instead, we're gonna take the hands to the shoulders, so there's just no way that we can do that. We're taking that ego out of the way. With your exhale, right elbow reaches down, left elbow reaches up. So really paying attention to what's going on the inner right thigh, the inner right, on the right hip here, feeling where the edge is so we can make that adjustment. And then wherever we land, then we float right palm down, left palm up. And it doesn't matter where that right hand is. We've taken it out of the equation. Keep breathing here. Then inhale, come back up. Warrior two. Spin on the back left toes, high lunge. And step your left foot up to meet your right. Exhale, hands down through heart center. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this time, weight is shifted to the left foot. Right foot steps back behind you. We're setting up our high lunge here. Core is pulling in. Get that stretch and extension through the right hip flexor. Ooh, and I can feel it on this side. My right hip is tight today. But again, feeling those hip points going straight. And even noticing if the hip points are kind of down a little bit. We want to get them to go straight. That's what the engagement of the core is. Keep breathing here. I'm going to turn it around so I don't give my back to you. When we go into warrior two, then with your exhale, right heel down, right toes out, find your warrior two. All those little things, hips, knees tracking, twist in the torso, squeeze those inner thighs together. There's your warrior two. Then bending your left elbow, very gently taking it to your knee, right arm lifts, side angle. Exhale, overhead at an angle, stretch whole right side body. Inhale, come up, reverse your warrior. So the right hand drops, left arm reaches up and back. Keep squeezing the inner thighs together. That's gonna keep that knee from coming back. We wanna really work those inner adductors. One more time, exhale, extended, just barely hovering above that knee. So if you lifted the elbow, there wouldn't be a drop in the body weight. Inhale, come up, reverse. Back to warrior two. High lunge. Then stepping the right foot in. We're setting up pyramid other side. So bowing from the hips, right toes are turned out just slightly, but both hips are pointed straight. Bowing from the hips. So imagine that halfway lift that we've been working on. And then coming all the way down. Fingers can come to the mat, ankle, shin, but there's not any pressure here whatsoever. Giving a good stretch to the back side of the left leg. Keep breathing here, tugging right hip forward, left hip back. Then rolling back up. Step the right foot back, high lunge. Right heel down, warrior two. I gotta make all those little adjustments. There we go. And then we're going to take it to our triangle this side. So straighten your left knee, hands come to your shoulders, take that ego out of the equation, left elbow down, right elbow up. So really listening to the inner left thigh, the left hip, and then the left palm comes down, right arm reaches up. Doesn't matter where that hand is, it might touch the mat, it might not. But if you notice on this side, I'm able to touch the mat, on the other I'm not. And it's even not so much that I'm able to on one side and not able to on the other. It's just the fact that that's the way my hips are. My hips always a little tighter on the right hand side, so I guess it is. I'm not able to do it on the other side, but that's okay. Inhale, come back up, warrior two. High lunge. Step your right foot up to meet your left. And exhale, hands down through heart center. Good job. So you're still getting a workout. You're still working hard. I'm still sweating up here, but I have taken out my chaturanga from it. So it's not so much of, oh man, I've hurt my wrist. Guess can't do yoga. Yes, you can. You just need to modify it for yourself a little bit. Okay, so coming back to the top of our mat, I'm going to stay in this direction. I'm going to shift my weight to the right foot, and my left foot is going to lift up. So really using the strength of my left hip flexor, left psoas, softening my right standing knee so I'm not locking it out. Hands are going to reach up overhead, and then we're going to take this back and forth from single leg Tadasana to warrior three. And I'm going to choose to reach my arms back behind me as I bow from the hips. So it's not so much how high can I get the left leg to lift, but I want to think of myself on a pendulum. So however high my left leg lifts, that's where I bow. So if some days I'm just not feeling it, or maybe it's just not in my body right now, I can just hover the toe, but I want to keep this length instead of bowing here and then the foot is not on the same kind of direction or pendulum. And we're gonna move back and forth from this single leg Tadasana. You really gotta pull the core in. So here's our core work. Inhale, left leg lifts, single leg Tadasana. Exhale, warrior three. Really pulling the core in. One more. Inhale, left leg lifts, single leg Tadasana. And exhale, warrior three. Pull the belly button in. Take your time. It's not about how fast you can take it. It's how solid can you make yourself here. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, left foot steps down. Hands come down through heart center. You might need to take some movement through the hips if the hips got a little tweaky here. We're gonna do the same thing, other side. So transfer your weight to your left foot. Inhale, right foot lifts. Arms reach up overhead. Softening the left standing knee, core's pulling way in. Exhale, warrior three. So maybe you do a different version this time. The hands can reach out in front of you. They can even go to heart center if you'd like to. Inhale, come back up. Single leg Tadasana. Exhale, warrior three. Take your time. If you fall out for a moment, you got to take it a little slower. That's okay. Inhale, come back up. We got one more. If you got to take a break, touch that toe down. That's okay. Really pulling the core in. Really getting some good core work here, even though we're not doing our planks. Inhale, come back up. Woo! And exhale, hands down through heart center. Right foot steps down. So some days are woo days and you're kind of wobbly. And that's okay. We're going to take it to our wide-legged forward fold. So stepping the feet apart, toes in line with the ankles. If you have really long legs, it may need to widen that stance. Then hands are going to come to the hips and really feeling this bending happening at the hips. This is another place a lot of times I will see, and I've even done it in my own body, where we're coming down and the warrior three is with a curved spine. So we really want that flat back. So again, here I'll show you from the side here. We want like our halfway lift. So tailbone reaches back, crown reaches forward, maybe stopping halfway, feeling that, and then continuing to reach the crown down. I'm gonna come back to my mat here because my feet are slipping. And again, barely any pressure on the fingertips. Maybe even take the pressure off the hands and just take them back behind your hips. So it becomes all about the core working, the stretch of the inner thighs. Just breathing here. And then we're going to take it side to side. So taking the gaze out in front of you. And there's no pressure on the hands, so the core has really got to work. Right toes turn out and bending the right knee. So I'm going to sweep the hands so I'm not touching. You can take the hands down. That is an option, but we're going hands free today. So really challenging that core. Core is pulling in. Right toes in, left toes out. So side lunges here. Using that core work, left toes in, right toes out. Right toes in, left toes out. Then back to center. One more time, bowing from the hips, long spine. Wide-legged forward fold. I'm gonna keep those arms bent. You can even come down to forearms if that feels comfortable. Then very gently, toe heel the feet in until the ankles are a little bit past the hips. Again, your stance may be wider if you have long legs. Reaching the tailbone down. Coming into Malasana Garland, really reaching the tailbone down. If the heels have a tendency to lift, then maybe you just take it side to side. Or maybe you just stop wherever you need to. If you're coming all the way down and you notice those arches are rolling in, ooh, that hurt a little bit. Don't want to roll my wrist. If those arches are coming down, use the elbows to press so that you're on all four corners equally, getting that stretch in the hips. And if you fall back, that's okay. It's all about practice. It's not about being perfect. That's why when I first started doing these videos, to be honest, I would do them over and over again until I did it perfect. And now I almost enjoy when I'm like, oh, well, this is the way it is today, because I want to be honest with you guys. That's where I'm at. So very gently coming back to the fingertips. Core is going to pull in. The hips reach up on the inhale. And then toe heeling the feet back underneath the hips. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, reach back down. Belly button to spine, slight engagement in the glutes. Inhale, come up, reverse. And exhale, hands down through heart center. Good work, guys. We're gonna take it down to the floor, to your mat. So very gently, bending one knee, come down. Take your time so you don't have to use the hands. Then having a seat on the heels, cross the feet underneath you and bring the feet out. And that brings you down to a seated position. We're gonna take it down to bridge, but really again, using the core to get down. So lifting with the spine until, not with the spine, with the core until the spine is straight. And then maybe reaching your hands out in front of you or up instead of them being by your side. So there's not even a temptation of pressure on the fingers or the wrists. Core is pulling way in and then slowly lowering all the way down. Keep that length, really pulling the core in. And then once you're all the way down, I'm gonna scoot down a little bit here so I'm not out of camera shot. You're gonna walk the feet underneath so that the ankles are underneath the knees. Knees are as wide as the hips. Hands are down by your side, but they're just kind of relaxing there. Grounding the shoulders down. This is another one. When we come to bridge sometimes, we're so worked up and we're like, oh yes, we've made it to our backs here, that our shoulders are still up by our ears. So allowing the shoulders to come down. And then inhale, lift the hips, lift the core. And that's as far as we're gonna take it. Usually I like to give the option of lifting the heart and the shoulders realm underneath, but there's a little bit more pressure in the hands there. So I'm just gonna stop here today because that's where I'm at. Breathing into the hip flexors, into the psoas. And then very gently coming back down one vertebrae at a time. Right foot's gonna stay planted. Left ankle is gonna cross over top of the knee, but I'm gonna engage my toes and so that they're pointing up towards the ceiling and now out towards the side. So I'm finding my reclining pigeon here. And then with my exhale, pressing my left knee away. If I wanna take it further, instead of threading the needle and using the hands to pull the leg, I'm gonna keep the knee bent and reach it off the ground and pull it back. I can even have a straight leg here if I'd like to, but I can find a little bit more pressure if I keep my right knee bent. So again, noticing where the left knee is. So if you come up and the left knee is already here to begin, I would suggest keeping the right sole down because we don't want it to be this way because then you're not getting the hip flexor opening to the side. So if the left knee is in line with the ankle, then taking it as far as it feels okay in your body. So it's still pigeon, but we don't have to worry about anything on those hands, on those wrists. And then releasing down. Uncross the left leg. We're gonna step the feet down and as wide as the mat, taking some motion in the hips. Inhale to center. Exhale, both knees are gonna go over to the right. Left hip comes off the mat. So I'm finding some extra length in my IT band, in the psoas. Inhale, center. Exhale, both knees to the left. So again, finding that motion side to side. This is one I love to do almost daily when I wake up in the morning. I'm getting to that age where I get out of bed and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta find some movement. It's time left foot down. Right ankle over your left knee. Engage the toes and press the right knee away. Again, noticing where the right knee is pointed. If it's not in line with the ankle, that's okay, but keeping the sole of the left foot down. Letting each hip find its own edge. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses and do what everybody else is doing. Some people are just naturally more flexible. It's hard enough just to keep up with ourselves. So again, you keep that foot down. If the knee is in line with the ankle, you can lift the foot. You can straighten the leg, whatever feels good to you in your body. But again, feeling that hip flexor opening up to the side. And then very gently, left foot comes down, right foot uncrosses. And this time, left leg's gonna go long to the floor. Bend your right knee. And then we're gonna keep the hands to the mat. With your exhale, engage the belly button, and left leg is going to lift up. So still allowing that little arch, it may be just lessened a little bit. It's really the top of the hips that you're pressing into the mat. So instead of thinking I got to get center of the spine down and then you're putting the low back into pressure, it's the top of the hips. So core is pulling in instead of flattening down here. And then we want to keep that engagement in the top of the hips to the mat. And with your exhale, little core work here, left foot's gonna come down. When you feel that low back or the top of the hips pop up, leg's gonna come back up. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Exhale. Inhale, left leg lifts. And exhale. Hello, abs, there you are. Inhale. Last one. This time we're gonna take it all the way down to the mat. Hands are gonna come to the side. I'm gonna cactus my right arm just because my wall is right here. Keeping my right knee bent. With my exhale, my right knee is gonna go to the left, and I'm gonna walk my left hip underneath me so that I'm stacking the hips. So right is on top of left, so that twist is happening in the belly and not the hips. Gaze can stay to the ceiling. I can look over to the right side. Maybe that right leg is hovering. Maybe it touches down. Again, just stopping at your edge, listening to what the body needs today. Then inhale, come back to center. Left hip's gonna walk back out. And I'm gonna extend my right leg and bend my left knee. Again, we're gonna find that little bit of core work, so lifting the right leg up, finding that engagement, so core is pulling in, and I've got the top of my hips grounded down, so I'm not arching. Overarching is what it is. I'm allowing my natural arch. Then with my exhale, slow lower. Pressing the top of the hips back here into the mat. When I feel them pop up, I'm gonna bring my leg back up. 2 more times. Slow lower. It might just be teeny tiny and you're like, that's it on that side. And that's okay. Inhale, come back up. 1 more. Inhale, come back up. And this time right leg's gonna go all the way down to the floor. Keeping those hands open to the side. With your exhale, left knee's gonna go to the right. Right hip walks underneath you. So stacking the hips, keeping that gaze to the ceiling or over to the left. Maybe the leg's hovering a little bit. Maybe it's touching. And then coming back to center. Finding some extension here in the spine. Feet are gonna reach down, arms are gonna reach up overhead. Stretch apart, getting a good stretch in the abs, between the vertebrae, in the shoulders. And then very, very gently, you're gonna bend the knees. We're gonna use the elbows to press ourselves back up. So usually I like to roll onto the side and we use that top hand to press ourselves back up, but hands-free flow. So I thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a good time. I hope maybe you tried some things that you never had tried before, or maybe you're brand new to yoga. You've never been able to do it before because there is so many chaturangas and planks and things on the wrists if you do that vinyasa version. So I hope this helped you maybe enjoy yoga a little bit more and challenged you, even though we didn't do a lot on the palms and the wrist. Thank you so much for joining me today. Blessings and namaste.